copy of your LFS. If you have one close to you, grab it and pull it out. We'll be referring to that here shortly. So.
Yeah, so just want to say, obviously, good morning, welcome. It's like Gail said, she's like, I feel like I'm kind of getting everything together. I know that it is January 20th, not January 1st, but I feel like just now, like the world is aligning, right? As far as travels and, all the craziness that comes after the holidays and Top Gun and all of that. So now it's time to really hone in and focus and exploit our businesses, all of us. So I want to talk about that a lot. First of all, welcome. And I want to tell you guys, I want Zach to tell you guys. Obviously, you guys know the name of our team is the Justice League, and we did that several years ago, kind of when that came back around. And Zach's a comic book nerd, so we'll blame him. But also tell them why.
Oh yeah, sure. So if you're familiar with comics, you're familiar with superheroes. I was one of those kids that was at the comic book store every Tuesday when the new comic books dropped.
We matched today, by the way.
Yeah, Color of Money. We got green going, so casting that out into the universe. But no, I was always one of these very pragmatic superhero fans, and Batman was always my guy because I wasn't going to get bitten by a radioactive spider like Spider-Man, wasn't going to be coming from another planet like Superman. Everybody had some unattainable superpower except for Batman. He's just the benevolent billionaire, right? He's just rich and could do what he wanted to do, and he did it for good to help. And so that was why Batman was always my thing. But I always enjoyed the Justice League because it was everybody working together. And so we were talking, and when the movie came out several years ago, for the first time, the slogan that they had was "You can't save the world alone." And that's kind of our mission, right? Our mission is to provide, not provide, but to bring wealth to families through their own providing of it, whether it's earning or whether it's saving or whether a combination of both. And so in thinking about that, we went with the name Justice League because I feel like it kind of points to the fact that we don't want to do this by ourselves. We don't want all the credit. We can't do it by ourselves. We're going to need to recruit the masses. And if you haven't seen true comic book fans, some of them hate it, but basically the entire first Justice League movie up until the end was it was Bruce Wayne recruiting the rest of the superheroes to join forces and go save the world. So a lot of recruiting involved there, a lot of things that comic book nerd me likes. But I think that to understand why we do that and why we call the team that, that's really it. Because our mission is to create wealth for families. But in order to do that, we have to grow a team big enough to make a difference. And so that's where the name comes from. So just a little backstory for those of you that haven't heard that before.
Okay, so you guys, like, what does that mean?
Now
Why do
you
you
know.
say that? Now you know. So also on that same note, you guys have seen schedule questions coming over the WhatsApp, especially this last few days, right? Like, what's the schedule? What's the links? What's all of this going on? And I want to pull up our team flyer. So kind of go through it with you guys. Our team flyer has everything from Jody's team as well, like his, scripted calls that we do. It just added our Tuesday team call also because I wanted you guys to have all of our calls, all of your opportunities to plug in one place. So when someone asks on our team, for our schedule, let's give them this Justice League flyer because it's got everything there that they could plug into in both areas. So let me pull that up and kind of show this to you. It's ours because it's got the Charleston bridges, right? You see the Ravenel on the side. We can thank Colton for that, for fixing that for us. And it also has the Team Justice League in the top left-hand corner where it says weekly schedule. But if you look at this flyer, first of all, it should be something that you put as a link in your phone, especially if you're getting on from your phone. You should be able to use put this in as a recurring meeting every single week. And so you can just click on it and jump on. But Monday Night Leadership Live, if I hover over this click to join, you see it's going to pull up that Zoom link. Okay. So on this flyer in your phone, if you click to join, it's going to give you the Zoom link for every single call that you have. If we go down to the Tuesday 10 a.m., it's going to give you the Zoom link that links to my Zoom. When we go to the factory training for Tuesday nights at the office, it's gonna link directly to Jody's Zoom. The business opportunity presentations have changed a little. Like we used to do them just strictly on Jody's Zoom. Now they require a pre-registration. Why? So we can keep um, in touch with the people that came. We have a register of who came or who registered to come, so then we can follow back up with them.
It's really important for you when you're inviting because you can track. Now, I would tell you if you have people that you've invited, you need to be on there as well.
Absolutely.
But you still, is it webinar format?
I don't think so. James would have to answer that. I know he's driving. As far as the registration ones, I don't know if it's webinar format.
It's not. It's not. It's just a Zoom room, a private Zoom room.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you will be able to see the name of your guests, right? And so that's really one of the most important parts of inviting is following up and following through. So if you invite somebody to watch that, you need to be on there also, so they can see you're there, and also you can see that they're there. And then the follow-up phone call after that, if they're on there immediately after, you need to be getting them started. We'll talk about all those details later, but it's very important not to just send that out. But also, we'll have a record of who was there when, so that then we can follow up as well. So
this one flyer for you guys should encompass every opportunity for you to plug in. I know if you're part-time that to jump on all these Zoom calls is a lot. So I want you to hear me clearly say that that is not a requirement. You're not going to make money when you're sitting on a Zoom call, right? But it is also important that the more you join these Zoom calls, the more you understand what we do. Zach and I'll stop the share now for just a minute and just kind of talk to you guys. But Zach and I were talking before about, and we've talked a lot about this lately, just he and I, but when we first started in this business, there was no Zoom. Nothing was virtual, right? It wasn't an option. We could make phone calls, which is still a really good thing to do, is to call your team and have conversations with them. But we couldn't feed our knowledge based on Zoom. So every Tuesday night and every Saturday morning, we went to our local office, and that's what we did, right? Every Tuesday night, every Saturday morning, from probably, on Tuesdays, 5 to 10 in reality, right? And Saturday mornings from probably 8 to 1 in reality. We were there. That was our job. That was our responsibility. That was our leadership play. You guys don't have that same opportunity. If you're local, like Atlanta is doing that, some of your other teams are doing that, but some of you aren't local, right? You're not local to an office. Charleston, we don't have a physical office here. Gail in St. Louis, all of you guys don't have a physical office. Pensacola doesn't have a physical office. So the times that you plug into these Zooms are the times you're really learning our system. It's really where you're getting that indoctrination, if you will, as far as it and what we do and why we do it and how it works. I know that might be a bad word, but it's the word we're using today. The brainwashing, right? And so think about that. If we aren't on at least our Tuesday team calls, right? Start with one and add to it as you get serious about your business. But if we aren't on at least one call a week, we have no idea what we're doing. We have no idea, other than products and concepts. If you maybe come from the industry, you don't know the bigger picture of this business and this system. And it really can't get in you because you don't give it time to grow, right? So that's the purpose of these calls. Again, if you're part-time, choose one of them and start there, and then add to that in your time, in your schedule. But the ones that you commit to personally, put them in your schedule as a recurring meeting and show up every single time. If you had a job and you had to show up at your job, you'd have to show up at your job, right? Treat this exactly the same way. So when you see this schedule, number one, know that it's our team schedule. Everything that you have the ability to join on a weekly basis is here at your fingertips, and it is linked as long as you click on it appropriately. It's in our WhatsApp group. And choose the ones that you're going to show up to. Choose the ones that you want to really plug into, and make that non-negotiable in your calendar. Make that non-negotiable in your schedule.
Yeah, and I want to I want to hit the opportunity presentations again from that perspective. There's several of them on there. If you're new and you've heard that presentation 0 times or 1 time when you came on board, one of the biggest indicators of success down the road is how many of those presentations you give on a weekly basis. So if you want to learn how to do that, obviously, if you're in field training, you've got somebody that's doing that for you. You should be on every single time with your new people so you hear it over and over again. But if you're just sitting at home and you're like, you know what, I could learn this presentation, get onto one of those and listen. You don't have to have a guest on there. It'll make you more money if you have a guest on there, but you can certainly learn the language, see what's the intent of the slides. If you go download the presentation and just try to go through it, it's really hard to deliver if you don't know the intent, if you don't know the message behind the slides. So anytime you can hear that, and those are great training opportunities for you to hear how that's delivered. So anytime you can hear what you should be saying or the presentation that we should be leading with from somebody that's done it hundreds of times, that's a great opportunity.
So moving forward from our schedule, let's talk about this Instagram challenge. I know some of you guys are doing it consistently. I know some people have done 1 or 2. I know some people have no idea what I'm talking about. I will just tell you, it is not easy. To be very, very, very clear, it is not easy, right? Like I joke with my kids all the time. I'm like, I'm an influencer. And then they're like, follow my mom, she's an influencer. So maybe one day I will be, right? Because we say what we want to happen, not what we don't want to happen, right? But having this 30-day Instagram challenge, I think today is day 9. I know personally I've missed 2 days. Not because I don't know what I want to say, but I don't know how to use all of the tools, right? Like CapCut or, putting all the words in, or she talks about Teza on hers and all that kind of stuff. So just know that I see you, and it doesn't have to be perfect. And some of mine are going to look like 3rd graders, and y'all's probably are too. But I think Stuart's like, yes, absolutely. But I think it's that consistency and showing up, and maybe every few days send a post out there and be like, hey, I know I look like a 3rd grader, but I'm trying and I'm working on this, and I'm going to learn how to post all these beautiful things. So a few years from now, you guys can look back and you can be like, oh my God, Kimberly, remember when you posted this? And I'll be like, yes, absolutely. If you follow any of those, the influencers that are doing the 2016 throwback right now, like you see that in everybody's newsfeed, right? Of where they were at 2016. There's a really popular designer in Charleston who is doing really, 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 really well, like big houses, big productions, like all of this now. But she posted her 2016, and it was her little starter home that was very average back then, and it's funny, even her design style, and it's funny to see them kind of look back. And it's what Grant Cardone said too, right, about his YouTube channel.
Yeah, I don't know if it's still that way. I would imagine it is, because he hung his hat on it for a long time. But he said I was awful when I started, and he said, but every single video I've ever made on YouTube is still there. So if you want to go back and see how bad I sucked, go back and look at my YouTube channel. Because he's like, I'll never take it down. This was several years ago when he said this. He may have taken it down by now, but he said that's proof that it doesn't take anything except for repetition and actually doing it to get somewhere. Now, I'm not going to comment on who's doing the Instagram challenge, because I am not doing the Instagram challenge. But that's maybe I'm a chicken. Maybe I just, like, if she doesn't know how to do it and she posts like multiple times a day, I can promise you I don't know how to do it. And so maybe I should get out of my comfort zone and try. But last time I did an Instagram reel, one of the people I went to high school with said I looked like some, what was it she said? She said some dad that was clueless or something like that. And I was like, well, that's me.
But also lean into that, right? Like, totally. Yep. That's exactly who I am. Yes, I know I look like a 3-year-old out here posting Instagram.
And it was Peter's fault, because I was waiting for him to join. It was supposed to be a live between the two of us. And I had to start my video, and I had really waiting for Peter. So I was just wandering around staring at the camera. Like, it looked like I didn't even know the camera was on. And then Peter stood me up, so I had to talk for a minute, and it's still out there. You can go find it on my Instagram.
But my point is, just do it, right? It's like talking to people like Stuart does at the grocery store. Like the more you do it, the more it just becomes normal, and you get better at it, and you can have those conversations, and it's just quick conversations. So for those of you guys that are doing it, I see you. Kudos, congratulations. For those of you guys that are just following along that say, hey, maybe one day, good news is we've got it all stored, right? We've got it all in this 30-day Instagram challenge. So whenever you want to start your 30 days, start it. You've got the prompts, you've got the audios, you've got all of those fun things that that you can go back. And I'm sure that none of that changes. So anywho, but those of you that are doing it, continue. Even if you've missed a day or two, like pick it back up and go forward, because you promised your followers that you were going to show up every day for 30 days. So I didn't say that, y'all did, so you have to show up. But anyway, just wanted to say a big shout out for that. Anybody else want to say how uncomfortable or weird it is before we move to our next topic?
Gail will attest to this. I've called her for it 5 times, just rage quitting.
Rage quitting.
Because I couldn't figure out how to do this, that, or the other. But I'm better at Instagram. I am getting better at OBS Studio. I'm getting better at Shotcut. I'm not good at Shotcut yet, but I can like do minor edits and stuff. And my next step is I want to start being able to insert sound and graphics. But to your point, it's just repetition. Like it's hard. Growth is hard. It's one of the things I spoke about. It's not easy. But Rome wasn't built in a day. It was built, however, every day. So that's kind of the attitude I'm trying to take with this.
I love
but I've
your
missed a
little
couple
things,
days.
Stuart. That's great.
Yeah, I got a lot of good stuff to say.
Yeah.
I missed like 4 days. But I made up for like 3 of them yesterday. Because I really want to be diligent of putting 30 posts out in 30 days. And I will
Remember,
say
she also said don't cluster post. Even if you miss one, just do it at the end. So I don't know why she says that, but just know she knows more than me.
well, I'm more concerned. I believe her. I'm more concerned about getting the work in and learning the process than I am about putting out posts rhythmically, if that makes sense.
I think that's where the true value is, because once you just have done it once or twice, then it becomes significantly easier. And I think there's so much value in the whole program. I haven't started it yet. I will be transparent. But I absolutely feel it's necessary, especially in today's world. And why not? There are so many people who come to us and they're just like, well, how do you get your leads? How do you get your clients and everything? Social media is, I mean, you want to duplicate yourself, that's where it's at. So we all need to
And the
improve
big
it.
thing is this is not really a sales 30-day blitz. This is a personal brand creation and building, right? So you're going to drip in there from what I've seen and from what I've heard going on around me, is there's going to be some of the things that will pique people's interest to ask you questions or to interact, which is
Yes.
the goal with social media, is to get the interaction, right? But it's not product specific. It's not, really anything other than putting you out there systematically. I mean, Kimberly got a notification yesterday that was like, congratulations, you're posting great content. We're sharing you with more people.
I was like,
So
I can post my reel. I can do it for 2 days.
So, I mean, the algorithm picks up on the fact that you're consistent. And I think that's one of the things that I know Raphael said, and some other people that have been social media wizards for a while. They were like, consistency is the key to exposure, because the algorithm likes to push people out there that are more consistent with their posts.
So I think it's funny that this is the conversation that we're having, and we're challenging ourselves to figure out how to post on Instagram and how to get these followers and all this kind of stuff, because it is exactly the same thing about our business, right? When you first come to work with us, you don't know what you're doing. You don't know how to do it. It's uncomfortable. It's not normal. It's not natural. It's not what you do every day. But as long as, like Stuart said, Rome wasn't built in a day, but it was built every day. I'm going to use that for the rest of my life, Stuart. Just remind me if I forget it. Okay. But that is just exactly like our business. So even if you guys aren't in the Instagram challenge, take that message and apply it to your business. Do something every single day to get to where you want to be. You guys aren't on here listening to me because you like the fact that we're randomly matching today. I mean, maybe you are. If you are, then you're a little weird, but okay, we'll take you. Thanks for showing up. But you're on here because you want to do something better for your life. You want to challenge the status quo. You want to win. You want to succeed. So if that's the truth, whatever it is, think about the Instagram challenge. It might be horrible, but post because you said you were going to and do it. So, not the Instagram challenge, but in this business, it might be horrible, but talk to somebody every single day. That should be, it doesn't matter what you talk to them about as long as it's pertaining to this business, right? But your goal should be until you have one person every day that you're talking to about coming to work with us or doing their plan or whatever, then just make that your metric, make that your measure, make that your yes, I did today. And then once you get good at talking to one person every single day, then maybe make it 2 or maybe make it 3. But start somewhere and do it every single day. Stuart, you want to say something?
Yeah, I would say don't even focus on the results. Nick Saban says this, and I'm not a huge Nick Saban says fan, but
Football.
I cannot argue the man's results. Don't focus on the results of what it is you do. Just focus on the process. Like, and that's why I put out those 3 or 4 videos yesterday or the day before. Like, I don't really care about the results when I talk to people. Yes, no, indifferent. Like, I'm told no all the time. Like, I got kids, they yell at me, like, whatever, it's fine. But I'm going to talk to you. You're gonna hear about what it is I do. You're like the AC guy that came in and checked my heater for my annual checkup. Like, he did not leave my house without knowing what it is I did. If I'm spending money with you, you're knowing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, like, because I did those few posts, I got better at OBS. I got better at Shotcut, which is going to build my brand when I start my YouTube page, which I got to text people about here in a minute. But I've also noticed I've gotten faster. I've gotten more efficient. And because things are starting to look a little better, like my numbers are going up. So, and I don't have to call Kimberly or Gail or have Jade jump in on text messages and be like, this is how you do this.
And if you did, I'd be like, I don't know. Let's Google it because I don't know.
I did Google it, and we had to rely on Jade because, like, it was may as well done. Thank you, Jade. But I would just say focus on building repeatable processes more than you're worried about results. If you're worried about results, you're going to get lost in what it is you're doing. So,
and sometimes it sucks. Like sometimes on my we're talking about Instagram. Sometimes on my new reels and carousels, I'm like, y'all need to like them. Like, I need some more people to like my stuff. But
my stuff looks like trash. I spent 10 minutes complaining to Gail about Instagram, and that's not a lie. Gail's laughing because she knows it's true. Like, I was mad, like, but I came back the next day for more punishment. Because like growth is hard. But
I want to point out something real quick. I sent it was this little thing from Robert Kiyosaki this morning. I sent it to Kimberly and Jade. It was right before the meeting, so they probably haven't even had a chance to look at it. But I sent it in Facebook Messenger because what he had to say was brilliant. And what he talked about was one of the things he talked about is how, we're groomed in school to view failure, bad grades, or mistakes or like not doing well on a test as failure, and we kind of beat ourselves up about it. An entrepreneurial mind, though, that's tuition, is what he called it. That's learning. That's the price that you pay. So, don't be so hard on yourself. Stumble. It's okay. You're gonna learn it. And it's just changing your mind about that. You're not, Stewart didn't do anything bad or wrong. He knows. He knows that this is it's going to get better from here. So we got to change our minds a little bit.
Yeah, that's the same thing Sarah Blakely said. If you guys know who she is, she's the one that created Spanx, to suck all our stuff in. But anyway, she's fantastic. And if you follow her, but she said every day at the dinner table, her entire life, her dad would ask them what they failed at that day. And that's what they had to talk about because they wanted to celebrate your failures instead of celebrating your successes, because failing is succeeding as long as you don't quit, right? Is learning from those mistakes. James, did you have something you wanted to say? Is he still here?
Yeah, he raised his hand.
He did. Well, James, if you want to speak, I see you're off camera here for a second too. You'll just have to let me know. And I'm happy to let you jump back in. Okay.
It's kind of, I want to bridge over to talking about the manual and the system, which is basically, as we talk about focusing on the process, this is the process. It is a system. It is not a result.
It's
right?
the Instagram challenge.
This is the system. So, and if you join HGI, right, or you join the financial services business, there are many people that have been successful in many different ways. And a lot of those are personality driven. A lot of those that person did or created or whatever else. The system here is the only way we can guarantee 100% success. And anytime, to my knowledge, that anyone has followed this system to the T, they have been ultimately successful. So that's why we call it the blueprint for success. And that's why we are going to, starting today, we're going to go through this process and make sure that there is no confusion and that everybody understands exactly how this system works. What is the process? What should I be doing daily, weekly, all those kind of things, so that we're clear. Now, if you've listened at Top Gun or at Convention of Champions or at any of these events, you've heard people that are incredibly successful. I don't know if you guys realize this, but the 2-minute speakers, which was like a day and a half worked in at Top Gun, they were on average making 300,000 plus to get 2 minutes on stage. So that's who that is that's up there, and that tells you the level of success that there was in the room. I think there were 4 pages of new $50,000 earners that they just called out and they walked across the stage. So whatever your success is that you're looking for, it's very attainable. Getting on stage and talking for those 2 minutes, that's that's people that are following this system, and they can quote, a lot of them can quote a page number. They'll tell you, where it is in the system. Hubert does it all the time. He's like, I think that's on page 37 of the manual in the middle of his conversation. He wrote the book, right? And he's edited it and changed it so many times.
Most of those guys that are on stage can do the same thing.
Yep.
Because they've studied it. They've used it as their blueprint. They've used it as their business Bible, if you will. And they know exactly what page to turn to, what to talk about that. So if you guys don't have a copy of it, I suggest you get one. Can you download it? You can't download it, but you can access it online, all of that. Yes. And I'm going to show you. But I also think that having it in your hand and on your, like in your fingertips, is a huge deal. So let me show you, first of all, how to get to it in the back office so you know what that looks like. So when you guys log into your back office, if you look up here where it says help and resources, click on help and resources, and down here on the left under tools and resources, let me actually click on that again. It might make me log back in. So I'll log back in. We click on helps and resources, and then it goes over here to tools and resources. When we click on that, you've got HGI ebooks here on the left-hand side of the page. And when I click on HGI ebooks, I can literally click on leadership format system, and it's going to bring up the manual for me page by page. This is the blueprint for success for your business. When we talk about having a system, this is what we talk about. Also, in this same section over here under tools and resources, if I click it, it's going to take me to the HGI store. I strongly suggest that you get a physical copy of this book. Hold yours up so people can see it. A physical copy of this book so that you have it at your fingertips. You can read it. You can make notes. If it's sitting on your desk or in your hands, it's more in your face than if it's a digital copy that's hidden. But ultimately, you scroll down here and you can purchase the leadership format system in English for $17.89. If you need it in Spanish, it is here as well. And if you guys were at Top Gun, this Magic of Compound Recruiting, which we will go through as well, that's the book that somebody paid, like, was it $1,500 or $10,000?
$1,800 on Amazon.
On Amazon, and said this is how they ran their business. And it wasn't an HGI person, because obviously we have access to it here. But All of this is gold. So know that you have it at your fingertips. This is how you run your business. This is how you become successful in our system. So we're going to go through this today, and we're going to go through this for the next few weeks. And Hubert always says that the best kept secret, if you want to keep a secret, put it in a book. Well, we're going to take that away, right? We're going to say absolutely not. We're going to teach you this book step by step by step, just like if you were in a classroom. And we're going to go through this with these lessons. So the first thing that I want you guys to see is the front of this book says leadership format system. When we talk about the system, that's what's behind all of these pages. And it truly is your blueprint for success. And when it says in here in the middle, run the prototype RMD factory. So you can talk about these little bubbles, like explain what that is to people.
Yeah, so basically this image that you see here is something that Hubert developed back when he was a builder in the field in his A.L. Williams days, when he was the Aki of that company, right? He was the one that brought the system into A.L. Williams and became the most viral, highest cash flow, all that kind of stuff. And each one of these little bubbles that you see, not the larger ones, but the little bubbles that you see, represent what would be, I want to say he said like an EFC or something like that. They had a couple of this isn't every RMD level person that he had, but that was his hierarchy, and that was how he was able to make lots of money when it, $1 million a year back then that's some serious business, right? If you look at Aki's hierarchy and you were to apply the same kind of thing, it would be smaller than this one. It's definitely a little more concentrated now because the products pay a little differently than they do, but the system is still the same and it applies the same way, and the multiples still work, right? So if you want to multiply your income, right, you have to first start with being a copy worth duplicating, right? And being that prototype factory, become an RMD yourself. And then hopefully in that process, you've been in a system that gave you the examples to live by, right? Hubert talks about things that we owe people when they come on board. We owe them a system, a track to run on, which we've got right here, and we owe them examples of success, which is what Top Gun is, which is what those things. You're looking at people that are running on the track that you've been given here, not deviating from that, and it's showing that they're successful and that it's not just a one-off. I mean, ultimately, that is to teach you concepts and let you hear from people. That is part of what those events are, but it's more than that, to show people that are just getting started the sheer number of success stories that there are through the system itself. Again, like I said, you can start and run and do whatever you want to do. This is your business. But if you want guaranteed success, that's what we're going to teach you. We're going to teach you duplication. We're going to teach you the kind of things that don't require you to be able to, know all the things about Instagram, that don't require you to be able to have a special skill set other than, like it says in the forward right here, when we go to the,
Well, I want to, before we go to the forward, I just want you guys to see this at the very beginning. So again, it's just the cover page inside, run the prototype RMD factory. You run the system, and the system runs your business, builds your business. But also I want you to look at the bottom. The LFS manual, the leadership format system manual that we're talking about, is composed of 3 main sections. Leadership section 1 is recruiter's mentality. We got to be really good at recruiter's mentality before we go to leadership section 2. And that's builder's mindset. Now I've got a team. How do I build them? How do I impart my knowledge onto them? And then leadership section 3 is the director of motivation. So as you're looking through this manual and as you're learning this system, understand it's broken down into those 3 categories: recruiter's mentality, builder's mindset, and director of motivation. And then you obviously have your table of contents, just so you know, if you are using it digitally, a lot of them are hyperlinked, so you can just click and go to the next one. But okay, so now we're at the forward.
Yeah, and so I would tell you, I don't know if you want to read this,
Yeah, I'll read it.
word for word, but I would tell you that
I do want to read it word for word, because if I don't, y'all might not, right? So you're going to hear my teacher voice come out, and I'm reading to you, and then you can tell them. So First of all, I want to personally welcome you to the HGI family. Our goal is to help you build a tremendous marketing team to help you make your dreams come true. At HGI, our definition of marketing is the continuous opening of outlets and the simultaneous movement through the outlets. See the back of the manual, which we can go to in a second. But the leadership format system will be the key for you to build a large network of outlets and a huge base of multi-product using clients. I think it's important to hear what that says. It doesn't say to be the best sales organization, right? It says to build a large network of outlets, which is people out there talking about who we are, what we do. And ultimately, that allows you to amass a huge base of multi-product using clients. Your future takes.
I think it's important also, and this could take days to read this. I'll let you read without interruption. But I wanted to say this too, because the word manual, right? We talk about leadership format system. The word manual, it implies an instruction manual. So if I have a new toy, if I have a new piece of equipment, if I have a new vehicle, right? Let's say I get a new Tesla. They do more things than you could possibly imagine as far as the interface and all that kind of stuff. I want a manual where I can go find out what it does, where I can go find out how it works. Like I can look and say, that's a cool toy. I can look and say, that's a cool business. And how was, did Aki go from, in 11 years, did he go from making, $300,000 a year as a business owner of traditional business to making $12 million a year in this new world? How did that happen? It's in the manual, right? This is the instruction manual for that cool business to make it work. So that word means something, right? It's not just the LFS book, right? It is truly the instruction manual on how to be successful in this system.
So your future takes a giant leap forward right now by studying this HGI leadership format system manual. Then through relentless repetition and copying, not creating, just copying, our blueprint for success, you possibly can make your dreams come true, as many others have before you, by using our proven, duplicatable turnkey system. Anything you want to say there before I read?
Yeah, I mean, everything about the world that we consume on social media, when it's not negative political, is about creating and being creative. And that's what our kids are driven towards. Everybody wants to come up with their own idea and their own, new whiz bang thing.
Which is paralyzing.
But understand, there are a lot of things. That's why I call this kind of the Mr. Miyagi method. If you're familiar with the Karate Kid, because he went out and sand the floor, wax the car, paint the fence, all those kind of things, and was learning, but he was focused on the process, not focused on the outcome. Daniel wanted to go out and learn how to fight because he wanted to protect himself and he wanted to kick somebody's butt and all that other kind of stuff. And Mr. Miyagi wanted him to focus on the process. And when you have a process, and it's counterintuitive to what the world is telling you and to what your training has been telling you, from all the way from our parents that were, state employees, benefits and guarantees and all those kind of things, to no benefits, no guarantees. Everything's going to feel counterintuitive. But in order to follow the system, you've got to copy, not create. And so that's one of the things that's going to make us different. And there's creative people, right? I was a vocal performance major. I consider myself to be creative in a lot of different ways. It's hard for me because I want to look at the things that they're telling me to do, and I want to say, but we should probably do it a little differently because it might land. No, stop. Protect yourself from yourself. And those are the reason that those words are bolded. Relentless repetition and copying the blueprint. It's right here, right? And then proven, duplicatable, and turnkey. All those things are what you want. Right? That's why you don't buy McDonald's, and there's a whole other page about McDonald's, but you don't buy McDonald's and want to fix the Big Mac. I mean, if you want to fix the Big Mac, you got a lot of work ahead of you. But if you buy McDonald's, you're going to do it their way, produce the same burger, the same way, the same sandwich, or you're going to call it something else. McDowell's, right, from the Eddie Murphy movie. But that's what you have to understand about this. And that's really what we want to distill down as our culture on our team is deviation from the system, though it might work for some, has zero guarantees. But sticking to it will guarantee your success long term. So anyway, now you can read them.
Okay, now I'm going to read the IBM story. And I want you guys to think about when we started out this year with our very first call of the year, we talked about our vision. We talked about what December 2026 was going to look like. We talked about, creating and crafting that story to ourselves of, skiing in Switzerland with our family and not worried about money and the fire pits and the hot chocolate and all the things, right? Whatever your vision was. So as I read this story, I want you to think about your goals and your dreams for this year, but also for your business. And I want you to really take that and replicate what he's saying in this example. So I once heard a story about Thomas Watson, the founder of IBM. When asked to what he attributed the phenomenal success of IBM, he is said to have responded, IBM is what it is today for three special reasons. The first reason is at the very beginning, I had a very clear picture of what the company would look like when it was finally done. Begin with the end in mind, right? We hear that from Hubert and everybody else all the time. What does it look like when you've reached all of your goals and dreams? You might say I had a model in my mind of what it would look like when the dream, my vision, was in place. The second reason was that once I had that picture, I then asked myself how a company which looked like that would have to act. And then I created a picture of how IBM would act when it was finally done. Not as I'm getting there, but once I'm a multi-billion-dollar company, or once I'm a multi-million-dollar company, how do I act? What does it look like then, right? And then the third reason IBM has been so successful was that once I had a picture of how IBM would look when the dream was in place and how such a company would have to act, I then realized that unless we began to act that way from the very beginning, we would never get there. You might not be where you want to be in life. You might not be where you want to be in business, but stand up every single day, get up every single day, pretend like you are, and you've got a much better chance to get there at the end. In other words, I realized that for IBM to become a great company, it would have to act like a great company long before it ever became one. From the very outset, IBM was fashioned after the template of my vision, and each and every day we attempted to model the company after that template. At the end of each day, we ask ourselves how well we did, discovered the disparity between where we were and where we had committed to be, and at the start of the following day, set out to make up the difference. They didn't wait till the end of the year, December 2026, and say, oh gosh, I didn't quite get there. Every single day, they inspected what they expected, and the next day they made changes. They made adjustments to make up for what they lacked yesterday and to be where they're supposed to be at the end of the day today. Every day at IBM was a day devoted to business development, not doing business. I want you to hear that very, very clearly. Every day at IBM was a day devoted to business development, not doing business. We didn't do business at IBM, we built one. Here, we don't do business at HGI, we build one, right? So I may not have remembered this story word for word, but I do know that it gives me an entrepreneurial perspective into what it takes to make a great business great. This is the model that I've always used and encouraged our new and up-and-coming leaders to use as well. You want to say anything before I flip?
Nope.
Okay. All right. Hold on. Let me get to my other words to read to you. With Hegemon Group International, you're now in business for yourself, but not by yourself. My challenge to you is to launch your fabulous new career quickly by teaming up with your field builder and upline leaders who will educate you, train you, and help you build your team. I also challenge you to become a complete business person by signing up with HGI so you can build a broad base of multi-product using clients. You should also take advantage of the many powerful business building tools we offer, including world-class brochures, powerful videos, leadership live, cutting-edge technology, online marketing systems, and so much more. HGI calls to all entrepreneurial-minded people of the world to form an alliance with us to conquer their future. HGI has successful leaders from all walks of life, no matter what your background. Those of us who are builders will be positioned to totally dominate the market in the 21st century. For the right person, HGI is the greatest opportunity in the world. If you are a driven, determined dreamer, you can conquer your future.
All right. So, biggest thing I want you to get out of this, right? From what we've talked about so far. Number one is that we have a system, right? It's right here in this manual. And if you follow it to the letter, you will be successful. The last thing I want you to get out of this forward here is the last line: for the right person. HGI is the greatest opportunity. Understand it is not your job to change and alter your behavior daily, weekly, how you conduct business to fit with your newest person's opinion of your business. Understand that. That's going to be very difficult, especially when you hire and recruit people that you might look up to or that have been very successful in their own world. You want to take in their advice. You want to take in what they're saying and maybe tweak what you do. Your job is to offer the opportunity and show with leadership on the ground how to follow the system. And for the right person, they'll rise to the top. For the right person, the filters are there and they all work all simultaneously while you are putting one foot in front of the other and offering this opportunity. So really our number one product you hear all the time is the opportunity. We've made a lot of money writing policies. We've made a lot of money investing in policies and products that we've sold throughout the years to that we've acquired through the business. But we've never made the same amount of money or even close to the same amount of money selling products outside of a recruiting and building model, period. We've been great personal producers. We've run, offices and branches and all this other kind of stuff in this same industry. But never have we had the ability to compound that income outside of a system like this. So we've studied it, we've learned it, we've read it from the original, big green book that I've shown some of you guys. It's downstairs because we were looking at it earlier when we were having coffee. And it's all been distilled down to this smaller book that we use now. But know that it's the right person for the system that you're looking for. You're not looking for the most influential person that has already found their way or their path or whatever. And I challenge you, and I saw Aaron Rodgers quoted this the other day on my social media feed, whether you like him or don't or care about football. He said, never take advice or listen to criticism from someone you wouldn't ask for advice, right? And so that you have to inspect who's talking to you. And if their pinnacle is your pinnacle and that's where you want to be, then you can choose to follow them, right? My pinnacle and where I want to be is not, I want to follow Hubert and do what Hubert's done. I want to have that kind of an impact. For me, it's different. It's not just money, right? It's knowing that he looks out across the world of financial services, and you can ask him how many millionaires he's created through this system. And that's some of the numbers that he's more proud of than anything, is that he's brought people from out of their own shell into uber successful individuals, even in parallel companies, even in other parts of the world that we've talked about that, people that have come through our system and learned entrepreneurial ideas and they went on and applied them themselves in a different way. That's what motivates me, is making that. I want to leave a legacy, leave a mark. I want to make a lot of money along the way. I love to travel. I love to buy stuff. I love all those kind of things. But I love more seeing my people making money they never thought they'd make, making decisions they never thought they'd be able to do, because they came through and I gave them that noble birth and I put them in the system and I taught them the right way. Because just as much as I can say the fact that they came through the system on my team and I did it right helped them to do something that they wouldn't have done before. If I deviate from this system and they're not successful, it's just as much my fault. So understand that it's a heavy load, right? The right person will follow the system. The wrong person will filter themselves out. It's not your job to determine which person to listen to. It's your job to let the system sort them out. And it's our job to share the opportunity, to share the excitement that we have and what we saw with as many people as we can. And we'll fix their financial lives as they go through the filters. Everybody you run across, whether they come to work with you or whether they become a client, they will be in a better place financially when you're finished with them than they were when you started. That's our mission, to create wealth for families. That's what we want to do. So I want you to understand the right person. And I'm harping on that because I know human nature. I know, especially when you get that first recruit or you get that person you thought or dreamed about would be your best, highest producing teammate. You want to listen to them and what they want from you, how to bolt on to their business. And at its true core, they have to buy into yours. That is it. And the people that don't, you might have some side liars that throw some business your way or write an app every now and then. But if you focus your business on those people, you're holding yourself back. So I want you to understand, for the right person, HGI is the greatest opportunity. And the system will determine if they're right or not. Not you, not, all your sideline conversations with, how to make it work. Run the system, go recruit more, put more people in the filters, and they will see through the vacuum of success, right? That, oh, wow, that he didn't change what they were doing, and I need to. How does that person, the arrogant people will see that they're like, oh, no, I can do this so much better than them if I do it my way. But you stick to it and you stick to the path, and all of a sudden you're making 7 figures and they're still making, mid 6, right? Because that's, most people look up and they say, you're making $500,000 a year and I'm just starting an HGI. That's a big deal. I want to be there. But I look past that, right? I want that 2 comma. I want that 3 comma, right? You keep going. I want to, that's the kind of success that I want to build. I want that exit strategy. All those, the vision at the end is what we've got right here. And there's not a better one out there. So anyway, soapbox. I know we're almost done. There's so much here. I don't even know that I want to dive into the introduction.
We're not diving into that. We'll do that next week.
But if you have a manual, pre-read it. Right.
So that's what I want to leave you guys with today. 2 things. Number 1, I want you to have a physical copy of the manual. And if you don't, go to the HGI Success Store, order it, and show it to me next Tuesday on this call. If you're serious about your business, you need to have it in your hands. You need to have it that you can reference, and you need to pick it up. Yay, Jade! And you need to read it over and over and over and over and over, right? So that's number 1. Should be something very easy that everybody can do. And it'll tell me how serious you are about your business if next week you can show me that manual. Number 2, I want you to go back, and you've got it digitally now if you need to. And I want you to read that forward again. And I want you to read how Thomas Watson created IBM. And I want you to pretend like your business is IBM. And I want you in your mind to do this exercise. I want you to think about what it is going to look like at the end when you've built it, what that looks like, right? And I want you to think about at the end, when you've built it that way, how do you have to act every single day? And then I want you to, are you turning my page?
No, I just gonna wrap up with something.
Oh. And then finally, I want you to, what was the last one?
What's in my mind, I saw how it was in the end. That's the first reason. The second reason was, once the picture was there, I asked myself how a company that was that way would act. And the third one was, had to do it immediately, right? Had to act that way from day one.
Yes, had to act that way from day one. So I want you guys to put that together, and I want you to think about your business and where it will be and how it will look and how you will get there, so you can really put that vision into place. Because I think until we see it for ourselves, we're never going to get there. I know Zach has something he wants to say, but I want you to talk about him too, because I think that was a fantastic story. We have 3 minutes. I've got a guy coming on at 11.
All right. Well, Kimberly's fascinated with the Fernando Mendoza story.
And if you don't know it, you should all go watch it. It will be a movie, 1,000%.
It all kind of tied together, and I didn't really realize this until last night because I'm not an Indiana fan and I'm not a Miami fan, but he grew up in Miami and was denied even to walk on at the University of Miami. His dream was to play football, so he went off and he was playing at JMU. Some of you guys know the story there. But the irony, the fact that he was able to beat the University of Miami in the national championship game and cap off a 16-0 season
and win the Heisman
Trophy and all those kind of things over the team that said he wasn't good enough to walk on, was a pretty fantastic story when you think about it. There's a lot of work that went into that, a lot of systems and joining those things. And he talks about the Kurt Signetti system, which is, down the tree of the Nick Saban system, and it's all process oriented.
But it's also that driven, determined dreamer.
Absolutely.
He was not going to allow someone to say he can't do it. He just has to figure out a different way.
Yeah. Plugging into a system and sticking with it and following it through to the very end, even to the point where Kurt Signetti was his coach at JMU. And the Signetti system got a job at Indiana, and he went to Indiana. And it took him from, school that would not have been part of, right, the competition that he was able to win, in the same system with the same leadership following all the way through to the culminating event. Now he's, going into the draft, and we'll see where he keeps going from that point. But kid's a good kid, at least from what I understand. If you listen to any of the things he talks about, he's got his head screwed on pretty straight. But he'll tell you that he works hard. And so the keys to that story that make it successful is he was the right person, the driven, determined kid that was going to be successful no matter what. And he plugged into a system, and he followed that system through, didn't ask questions, didn't go, off on his own, seeking a new NIL deal, doing all those kind of things. He plugged into a system and he stuck it through, and he won on this level, and he's more than likely going to win at the next level. I mean, I don't know if you saw that one run he made last night when the game was on the line. I've always been one of these people. I was like, I mean, is he really that good? I mean, he's at Indiana. Is he really the Heisman? His stats aren't really there, all that kind of stuff. But he earned that. Last night, he put the nail in the, I guess the final nail in the trophy, not the coffin, right? He earned it and finished the deal. So be that person and realize that dedication and that commitment to yourself, not to anyone else, but you got to be dedicated and committed to yourself and your own success, because that's what's going to get you through. Now, when you get a team and they're looking at you, you become beholden to them to continue to act the right way, to continue to set the right example. And that's a really important piece. But we'll wrap up with that for today, guys. Our goal.
Two things. Buy the manual.
Yeah.
And create your vision for your business. If you don't take the time after this hour on Tuesday to do anything until next Tuesday, then you're wasting your time. So take the time, take a minute, turn everything else off, and allow yourself to dream, and allow yourself to envision what you want your business to be. And what were you going to say?
Yeah. I mean, we are going to be focused on the track to run on and making sure that it's clear and it's evident to everyone. The last thing I want is people looking back at us and saying, well, I don't know that. He talks about this in the manual. Where's that? Why have we not heard that before? So, and we've got some things from a scheduling perspective that we want to talk to you guys about and all that kind of thing. But right now we're going to keep kicking. We're going to keep going right down this road. And we want to make sure that you understand the manual. So when you hop in the Tesla to drive away, you know exactly which buttons to push and when to push them. So,
all right, guys, I got 2 people in my waiting room that are ready for this opportunity. So we're going to say bye to you guys today. And I will see you next week, same time, same place. Bye, guys.